Welcome, my friends, to the Solid Signal podcast for the week of July 26th, 2021. I promised you a little bit something different because you sat with me through about 4 or 5 weeks full of talking about cell boosters. And I think some of you did enjoy that and some of you did not. And I get that. That's totally okay. But let's be honest, it was a long time to be talking about that one particular subject, and probably the longest time we've talked about one subject on the Solid Signal podcast. So this week I want to talk about the Olympics. Now, there's a lot about the Olympics that I'm not going to touch upon because we really don't talk about politics and we really don't talk about health issues. And those are probably the two biggest things that there are. But let's talk about the TV aspect of the Olympics. Is it being done well this year? You know, every 4 years, or in this case, every 5 years, the Summer Olympics roll around. NBC gets a chance to prove that they have learned from their previous mistakes. I've been pretty harsh with them in the past about not even recognizing people who are part of the opening ceremonies or getting way off track with human interest stories that weren't terribly interesting. Well, this time around, I'm not going to say that they have completely improved. There's still some problems, but they do get better. One thing that they have improved is the 4K experience. There's a ton of 4K, whether you're on DirecTV or somebody else. There's a couple of hundred hours of 4K coverage that's available. Now, it's hard to know whether it really makes a difference because it is still kind of compressed down, and I'm not sure that I saw a lot of real improvement over the 4K or with the 4K compared to the HD simulcasts. But it's there. If you're interested in it, it's there, and that's something. I'll give DirecTV a lot of credit this time for creating an interactive experience that loads incredibly fast, which has always been a problem in the past, and gives you just what you want. When is the thing that I want on? What channel is it on? And there's a mixed channel that works really well. And again, it's kind of a very pragmatic, low-key kind of experience. I think the title is something like DirecTV Olympic Experience in all caps. And there's really nothing much more to say about that except for that you get large images of the channels that it's showing in the mixed channel. Still can't decide what channels they're going to be, but it's something. So in that sense, the coverage of the Olympics has improved. It continues to get better. There's an app that you can get, and the streaming coverage is good depending on where you want to get it. Peacock's got a lot of it. So this is something that, if you're an Olympics fan, it's great. One thing we still don't have, and it's annoying, honestly, it's annoying, is that we're still not seeing a lot of these events live, and we know that we could. You're watching like the gymnastics stuff or something like that, and because the families can't be there, they're watching a live feed. So a live feed exists. And it's very likely that the commentators are doing it live. It seems like that's working for them. And yet they're just not serving it live to the people because NBC would rather take the really high-profile events and put them on prime time. This means that you're still seeing it 3 hours earlier in the East Coast than you are in the West, and overall you're probably seeing it 8 to 10 hours after it's actually happened. And okay, so this kind of limits the betting experience if you're using the Olympics to gamble and make money, but you could probably find the results anywhere you want. But honestly, I would say when it comes to our world of on-demand programming, whether it's streaming or satellite delivered or whatever, they should just be feeding it all to you when it happens so you can choose when to enjoy it. It's not necessarily about prime time anymore. It's about providing this kind of experience, and there's so much too. That's another thing that could be provided and isn't. You can say, oh, Americans don't get to see the whole Olympic experience. It's true. That probably about 90% of the coverage of the Olympics is not shown to Americans because it's an event that doesn't have an American in it or not interesting to Americans, or it's something that Americans just have never shown a lot of interest in. Why not make that stuff available to stream? And there is some of it. I'm going to say there is more of it than there has ever been before, and that's good. But there isn't all of it, and it isn't live, and that's frustrating. That's about the bottom line here, folks, is, now we're going to have to wait until 2024 to see if NBC can do better with the next Summer Olympics. Who knows? But looking at what the evolution will be by that point, it's a safe bet that they'll still be years behind, because they're years behind now, and they will have 4 more years to think about, and they'll still be years behind doing what they should have done in 2021 by the time we get to 2024. Look, I'm not the guy or lady who programs the Olympics, and I know it's probably super hard. It costs NBC a lot of money, and they're trying to use conventional methods to make sure that they get their money's worth. But conventional methods just don't work with television anymore. Programmers who are using conventional methods are getting left behind, and they need to be thinking about that, need to be thinking about how all that works. There's a lot more problematic stuff about the Olympics, as I said. I really am not going to delve into the politics or the health concerns or any of that stuff, or about whether or not there even should be Olympics. I've got my own opinions about it, but this isn't that kind of podcast. In the meantime, if you like what I am saying, do me a favor and leave a comment anywhere where you listen to this podcast. Subscribe, like, all that stuff makes me look good to my bosses. And I will see you one more time next week on the Solid Signal podcast for our ongoing series of How Cranky Can I Be? Seriously, enjoy your week, and I will talk to you again soon.